What's going on, fellas? How's everything?
Man, can't complain, man. What's good, man? It's good to see y'all brothers again.
Hey, it's good to be back in the space with you guys again, man. Just fatherhood is the thing, and what's new in fatherhood, fellas? Talk to me for a second.
It's back to school, man. Around here, we preparing
Yes,
for
sir.
back to school.
Mhm.
College-age daughter just went back. She's
Oh,
in an
nice.
apartment. I got two
Mhm.
seniors this year, so that's interesting. College and high school. Yeah.
Yes.
So, that's what we doing around here. Good times,
Hey,
good
look at
times.
that smile. Look at that smile.
Yeah, same here, man. Doing some back to school type stuff. School starts again next week.
Okay.
I got one that's going to be a senior, and I got one that's going to be a junior. So we at the tail end of that thing, man. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Trying to get their mindset on being good young men and good young women, because
Of course.
getting out into
Now's
this
the time.
workplace, man, get out into this world, man, you got to have a plan. So we are working on devising a plan and how to operate that plan. So yeah, we right there. We right there.
Okay. Hey, planning. I'll write that down, no doubt. But here's the thing. The thing that I want to hop to, right off the bat, man. Like I said, I don't want to waste any time. What is the number one killer of relationships, man? And this doesn't have to be romantic. What's the number one killer? Can anybody tell me?
Communication or lack thereof.
Oh, okay. Did you read my notes, man?
I did not, but yeah, that's the number one, brother. Number one.
Okay,
And that's
one
any
of the
relationship
things.
across the board, man. Even friendships, bad text could end a 20-year relationship in a heartbeat. So
That's money. That's the thing we're gonna come to as well. But money.
oh yes.
Money is a close tie, if not second. One of the two is
No
absolutely
doubt.
right there.
So what beyond communication is that's the one of the topics we're going to touch on today. Another thing will be co-parenting, and Steve, I'm going to ask you right off the bat, what does that look like inside the house, outside the house, and what other variations are we talking about?
Man, we got a couple different facets of the way it may look to you, depending upon where you are and who you are. I myself come from the scope of outside of the home. Co-parenting is a must when outside of the home, because you have two different places of residence that your children stay. So you want to make sure that you are on the same page. You want to make sure that there's proper communication. You want to make sure that you guys know where the kids are at all times, what they're doing at all times. And man, depending upon the nature of your relationship or whether or not you are on good terms or not, sometimes depends on whether or not you guys are on the same page with your children. So it's very important. You also have that aspect of co-parenting when inside the home together, whether it be married or living together or whatever the case may be. Some people don't see it that way, but you still are co-parenting. You still are put in a situation where you both have input on what happens with your child and how they go about life, their philosophy, their thought process, all the above, man. So those are two of the biggest ways that I think you can look at co-parenting in two different ways.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I sincerely agree. There's different variations of everything that we do, but inside the home looks different for everybody, and outside, especially I have experience in both. I've raised my youngest daughter, under my wife's care inside the home, and then I've had to raise two other children outside of the home.
Okay.
So yeah, it looks different every day. It looks different with each variation. It looks different. Raising my son was different than raising my daughter outside of the home. So.
Right.
Sure. So let's get this thing out there right off the bat, man. How much of a hurdle is a vindictive co-parent? Damn, hello, is this thing on? Tick, 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 tick. Did you hear me?
So Earl and I are able to kind of talk to a lot of young fathers, just starting off, trying to get themselves in a position to whereas they're being the best father that they know or that they can. And a vindictive parent doesn't necessarily have to be a woman. It can be a man too.
Sure.
It can go either way.
There are guys out there that still want the
Absolutely
relationship.
It is. Absolutely it is. It can go both ways, man. But speaking from our perspective, you are going into a situation that sometimes that ex, that last partner, or whatever the case may be, when something goes awry, the relationship goes bad, goes sour, you're thinking with emotions and feelings instead of thinking about, in reality, what could harm or what could help this child,
Right.
So we come in contact with a lot of young men that don't really know how to handle that situation going forward. Because it's easy for us to get drawn in as well and get emotional with things that are said between us, kind of different things that are insults that are hurled at one another.
Maybe information that gets shared that may or may not be pertinent to raising a child.
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna air it out. Absolutely.
So they gonna air it
Better
out.
believe it, buddy.
No doubt, man. Okay.
But what are they airing out? What are they saying? You think they are using things that they know to against the other parent?
Anything, yeah. What your mama do, what your grandma do. I mean, yeah, you name it, and it's fair game. If you've ever been vulnerable with some type of pillow talk with that other person, yeah, it's free game.
If you can be a fly on the wall during some of those conversations to understand or know what has been said on either side, man, I bet it's some crucial stuff being said, man. I'm saying, and that's stuff that the kid has to sit with sometimes and wrestle with, because I can imagine that there's nothing worse than to feel like it's a tug of war and you're in the middle of it, not really knowing which way to go or how to handle it.
I saw that early, and I stopped all that negative talk in front of the kids. We could be in the middle of a heartfelt discussion, and I'm like, no, we're not going to talk about this. Let me wait till I can get home and I can address you accordingly. So yeah, that's never cool. Never cool.
Right.
Indeed.
Right.
So we're gonna write the first rule is this: is that we ugly talk in front of the kids, man. Let's make sure that stays to an absolute minimum, if not zero.
Zero tolerance.
Or Herm and Earl, when inside of the home, when things aren't exactly peachy with the wifey, man, like, how does that go? Do you guys let that leak into what you do with the kids, or is it difficult for that not to happen?
You know what? I hear my 2 cents is this: is that it's hard not to, because kids aren't stupid. Like, you weren't stupid when you were little.
No.
I wasn't stupid when I was little. Earl wasn't stupid when he was little. I mean, you could hear what's being said. You can hear the context of everything, and you can form a little opinion in your little head. And so it's all about keeping that respect, where it needs to be. And sometimes you want. I for one, I'm always trying to table everything. Let's not do this right here, right now. Let's
table it. I like that. I use that. Let's table that. Yeah.
Table, but sometimes when the mood is right, man, it's like, nah, we got to dance right now.
We gonna air it
out. Right. I don't care who's watching. If it's hey, we got to dance right now.
Try to minimize those dances, though,
right? Because there's a time and a place for that as well. I mean, can I get a witness on that?
Absolutely, but I don't want to stay here too long, and I definitely want Earl to say his piece. But when something like that happens, are you able to circle back to talk to your daughter or your son, or talk to your daughter, let her know, hey, Dad was feeling a certain type of way? Is there an explanation to that, or is it just I just kind of keep it moving? And how do you handle that?
Well, I'm not an advocate for sprinkling that mental illness on the kid and just making them go out there. It's like where I can, and I can do better with this. I can.
Right.
I'll circle back and say, hey, listen, Dad had this reaction because of this, whether it was right, whether it was wrong. I want to apologize. Hopefully I don't have to go to that place in front of you anymore. But here's how I was feeling. Here's an apology. And that's big with me, is making sure that I'm always humble enough to apologize to a tiny child, because they need that.
That's what's up. I dig that. What you think, Earl?
Let's redo that one, because wait, are we apologizing because of what happened in front of the child between the parents, or is it a miscommunication with the child?
And either one. I mean, that's the thing is, man, you're not going to have every moment in front of the kids ain't going to be your best moment.
No,
so
you're right. You're right.
I've said some things, baby, that, that I wish I could get up, but
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I have had an opportunity to apologize in front of the kids for me misstepping, with my wife. Normally we handle those behind closed doors, and I'll apologize to her, but I don't think that I've had an opportunity to apologize in front of my kids for me. So that's an eye opener for me. But absolutely, if I don't have a proud parenting moment in front of my kid with them, I will absolutely say, hey, you know what, I probably should have handled that better, or going forward, we'll deal with things differently. So
no doubt.
That's an to kind of tie it up, man. That to me is a very important situation, because when we are circling back to be able to kind of revisit something that we're not proud of, or that we kind of feel in our heart, yeah, that went too far, and I didn't want my son or daughter to hear that. To be able to utilize the tools that we have and put that same tool in our kids' toolbox, it kind of shows them and teaches them going forward how to disarm situations that may become volatile or become issues down the road. So to give your kids that same toolbox, tool out of your own toolbox, I think that's paramount.
Oh, that's absolutely big. We have to show kids how to resolve conflict, because if not, they grow up to be adults who can't deal with it, and they'll go to other places, pulling guns or using hands or whatever.
Yes.
So it's very important for kids to see us in not our best moments, to so like you said, so that we can circle back and say, hey, bad example, so
yeah that wasn't it. Yeah, absolutely.
I dig that. Yep.
So anyways, do we have hey, you know what, one thing I will say that I haven't heard you all's opinion, and I don't know what you all know, but like alternative lifestyles, man. Co-parenting and then more of an alternative lifestyle. Do we know anything about that? Like, like the homosexual community, or like polygamist and things of that nature. Do we have any input on that at all?
I'm not sure what it would look like personally, but I would assume that it would be a similar situation as far as how to attack it, as far as what to do. Ultimately, we want to be role models for our kids as far as how we deal with situations that come to us on a day-to-day basis. So I don't know if it looks different from me being outside the home to you guys being married to other lifestyles and other different types of couples. I think all around we're kind of looking to achieve the same goal. So
of course, I mean, but here, could you see yourself being the will to someone's Jada?
Oh, no, I couldn't. No, I couldn't. We'll be before the kids apologizing every day, wouldn't we? Because there's all kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, from what we know, that they didn't have a real honest to God relationship. It was more of a legal marriage for X amount of years or whatever. I'm thinking, could you be under the same roof, living this lifestyle with this woman that you used to have this life with? You couldn't see yourself ever doing that?
No, that's a lot of explaining. That's a lot of, because like I said, kids are very, they understand, they see what's going on, they know what's happening, and they ask questions. My kids they're not ashamed or shy of asking questions. They're gonna ask questions. What's going on?
Oh my goodness!
Especially at that age. Yeah. Like, hey, what happened? No.
Yeah. Is this something that it's okay for me to do? Like, they're gonna ask questions. They're gonna ask questions, man. So I don't know what that would look like. I'm not sure, but that's a lot of explaining.
Can I have an example from you guys? What's one of the toughest questions you've ever had to answer from one of your kids?
The co-parenting questions, like why'd you do this and why'd you do that?
Right.
Owning up to some of your stuff is like, oh man, yeah, I was that guy.
Yeah,
that was important to me at that time.
Earl,
so yeah,
your kids can add. So
unfortunately they can. So
Earl has older kids, man. So
yeah.
So
he's probably answered these questions
out there
before.
in life, learning and understanding at the same time. So, is it easier? Do you find it easier for them to understand now, Earl, because they're older and they're out there living life now? Because when they're younger, their scope is so small. For scope of understanding is small. Not when you get out in the world, as you well know, you start to learn a few things, and you start to look at your parents more of a human being than just a dad or a mom. So,
correct.
Yeah, I believe growing up, the kids, it's that clear-cut parent-child role. as they get older and we get older as well, you're seen as not a friend, but like, hey, he's a human, he's a X-year-old, whatever. I'm
Right.
just a man at the end of the day. So it doesn't get any easier. I think they understand a little more. Sure. Sometimes you want to open up to them a lot, like, hey, look, now that you're going through this, now you understand why I did some of the things that I did. So
That's what's up. Okay.
Challenges. Some challenges in communication as a, or communication or co-parenting, whatever, what have you. What are those hurdles that we have to get over sometimes to make this all work? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, man. We can talk about that. I would have to say one of the biggest challenges in co-parenting and dealing with communication would have to be, especially as the kids get older, stories that you hear from the kids, exactly what it is they're doing, what they're not doing. If they happen to be going to mom's house and they're going out for the weekend or they're going out for the evening. There's been situations where kids left mom's and went out, but it's my weekend. So they'll get to my house, whatever the case may be, from wherever they're coming from, leaving mom's. And somewhere in the communication gets lost a lot of the times within that, because you're telling mom one thing and telling dad a whole different thing. So, those are one of the biggest things that you have to kind of see through, especially in today's time, when anything can happen with kids are disappearing. You always want to make sure to kind of have a bead on where it is your kid is and what's going on. What are the plans? Talking to other parents. And I think that is a lost art. As I have ventured off into high school, a lot of the kids think they're grown and no one speaks for them but to them. And then when the kids come along, I'm like, no, where's your parent? Oh, well, I'll just tell them. More like, no. I'm going to talk to dad. I'm going to talk to mom. I'm going to get some communication going on here. That's a lost art, man. I'm not just dropping my kids off at a house and like, yeah, we're having a party tonight. I'm going in. I'm talking to an adult. I'm finding out what's going on. So one of the greatest things I think, especially as the kids getting to be teenage years, is getting clarification on what the plans are. Sometimes leaving from moms to dads and vice versa, as far as my situation is concerned.
I want to amend one thing. One thing I want to add to this whole business is we should be writing down some real ones. We come across some gold nuggets, man. We gotta make note.
Right.
We don't make plans with children. We don't argue with children.
No.
We talk to adults.
Right.
And that's something that should go in the book. Okay.
Right.
Bar tape.
Right. Absolutely, man. It is a lost art. I remember my dad, my mom talking to your mom and dad, talking to Earl's mom and dad. Like, they knew each other. They knew each other very well. And if there was any discrepancies, it was nothing but a phone call.
Yeah.
And nowadays, man, that's kind of a lost art. Not with everyone, man, but I run into a lot of kids that their parents are nowhere to be found when it comes to different situations like that. So we need to kind of get back to being a community, communicating with each other, talking to each other for the safety of the kids.
Yep.
Yeah, I've had one of my daughter's friends just been dropped off sight unseen. They didn't know what was going on inside the house. I'm like, okay, yes. And this was a young lady spending the night at my house. I'm like, okay, yeah. So
you don't know what man is in the house. You
yeah,
don't know
I'm
what
like,
brothers are in the house. You don't know if it's other
yeah.
friends in the. You don't know who's in the
Check. We have
crib.
both of those. Myself and my son was in the house. This
Absolutely.
young lady came to spend the night. It wasn't an issue, but I just kind of expected for them to be, hey, I expect somebody to come around and kind of kick the
And show
tires, like, hey,
yourself,
what's
of
going
course.
on? Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
My daughter had a sleepover downtown with a young lady. It was a hotel party. I left. I'm like, I don't want to be in any parts of this. I don't want no miscommunication, no misunderstandings. And just a lot of people just drop their kids off and I'm gone for the night.
Yeah.
Terrible idea.
I
But as far as the issues, as far as co-parenting go, with me, I would say it was my pride. A lot of times I'm a very vengeful person. So if they do it, okay, it's my turn to get my lick back,
Get your lick back.
So
Get your lick back.
yeah,
Correct.
I was real big on that. especially as the kids were younger. As I got a little older, I kind of was like, all right, let's not be that petty. Let's not be that parent. I don't want to go down that route. So
I
it was that figuring out the balance. Like, okay, at first we were throwing jabs at each other. All right, if I can do this, then she can do that. Now, once we got around all that and kind of filled each other out, it got much better on both sides for me. It was that
let me
pride. It was heavy in a way.
I
let
like
me
to.
ask a question. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Herman. I want to piggyback on that real quick, man. I
Mhm.
tell a lot of the young fathers that we talk to today, I tell them all the time, do not engage. Do not
Yeah. I
engage.
know. I was showing up, mic in
Yeah,
hand, like, oh,
yeah,
I'm ready
exactly.
for it. Yeah,
Ready
let's
for it.
get it.
Do not
I
engage,
got
man.
time today.
Like as you get older, man, as you become more mature, you start to understand, man, that is a waste of time. That is a waste of breath. Like,
Energy.
look,
Yeah.
as a man, as a father, man, figure out what the answer is going to be and what it is that you're going to stand on it and just and be done with it. All that back and forth, all that getting caught up in your emotions, all that extra stuff, man, it is time consuming, it is damaging, it is hurtful. Stop feeding the monster that you're trying to kill, whether that monster is yourself or someone else. Quit feeding the monster that you're trying to kill. So
Nope. Throw gas on it. I was for it. As a young man, I didn't know. I didn't have all the tools. I didn't
I
have all the
did
answers,
too.
and I was
I,
doing it my way. And
I
I'm
did
like, yeah,
too.
this is gonna be the way it's gonna be.
And don't get it twisted,
Yeah.
man. Still get caught up to this day. You know what I'm saying? But I have to stop. I have to realize what's going on. I have
But
to
you can
understand what my
recognize it now. Before, I was just being led by emotion. I'm like,
exactly,
let's go, let's
exactly,
get it.
exactly. But yeah, man, before I was no better. And like I said, still to this day, I have my triggers just like anybody else, man. And certain things can set me off, man. I gotta take a second, kind of realize where I am, what the situation is, man, what's at stake, and go back to it and fix it. So yeah, do not
Well,
engage.
my next question is two-part then, and this goes for both of you. Is have you been in a situation where you need to mute the other person? And number one, how doable is that when you're trying to co-parent?
Mute them as far as a disagreement is concerned.
As far as, hey, I can't do this with
Locked.
you because you're like this, just you can't really communicate with them.
A lot, a lot,
Oh,
man.
It happened.
You have sometimes to put yourself in a situation like, look, I'm sorry that we don't agree, but like I said, here's my line in the sand. Here's where I stand. This is what it is, and then move on. You can't stay there, man, and fight and exert energy and no, it's not. In my experiences, man, it's not worth it. It's never worth it. You're
but
tired
how
and you're
then?
stressed afterwards.
Then how then are you gonna go about efficiently co-parenting if that's the protocol? If it's like, okay, I'm gonna throw this wall up because I can't do you right now. You can't meet me here in this place correctly in a way that I can handle. How does that go moving forward trying to co-parent?
The key word in that statement was, I can't deal with this right now. You can never have a temporary forever. You gotta be like, hey, I need a timeout. 20 seconds on the clock, whatever. But I cannot deal with you right now. And I'm gonna circle back. I'm gonna pick this back up. But right now, in this moment, in this space, I can't give you anything but negative energy. So I'm gonna pause, gonna block you on all my social medias, whatever, phone, everything, until I can address you again. And they may get mad and they may block you, and then okay, but that's fine. Give them their space to deal with their stuff. And then when we both can talk as adults, then we can come back together. Everybody
So the
deserves
clock.
that space. Yeah,
There's a
the
clock.
clock is
The takeaway here is like,
I'm
okay,
done.
this is a temporary thing.
Yes,
We'll circle back.
absolutely.
Okay,
Hence,
okay. Well, all right.
When
I
we
think
can
it.
both be adults.
hence the
But everybody needs
communication.
that timeout. Everybody
Yeah,
needs that timeout.
absolutely. Hence the communication aspect of things. Like sometimes communication looks like taking a break, resetting, and coming back to the table. Sometimes
Mm,
that's what proper, healthy communication looks like. Because it's not
okay.
always going to be kumbaya, hug it out, I love you. It's not going to always look like that. So sometimes you have to agree to disagree, come back to the table and understand, like, hey, look, we have to figure this out for little Johnny, little whoever. Like, look, we need to figure this out and figure out what we're going to do. So,
Mm.
not kind of
The
hitting your
other
head
part
against the
of that
wall, but you
is,
just have to be patient and kind of be able to take a break and come back, like Earl said.
Mm.
as the kids get older, sometimes you can take that permanent break. Like, you know what? This is where I get off the ride. I'm done. Communication's gonna run this way. We're no longer dealing with that person over there, and
So,
it
Doug,
works. It does.
what you're saying is all situations aren't fixable.
Sometimes that is the fix. I gotta remove
Yeah.
myself from the situation because this is not healthy for me. I cannot continue this path. I gotta get off this ride. And that's the fix. Because you're doing too much damage over there. I'm doing too much. It's a toxic mix, whatever. Like certain times you can reset and reset and reset. But how many times am I gonna get smacked in the face before I say, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
You take those punches as kids are younger, you know, they know that they got you. But when a kid gets a certain age, you be like, you know what? I don't need this anymore. We're past all this. You don't have to reach out to me for anything. We're moving on.
So that's, in your opinion, where you go to your kid and you strengthen your communication with your child and let them know, hey, look,
100%.
you have to communicate with me. You have to let me know what's going on. You have to let me know what you need. You have to let me know what's going on, because now you are over 18, let's say, and you're a young adult. So it's
They don't have to be over
we don't need
18.
third parties. You and I can communicate, speak to each other, and express needs and wants and whatever the case may be. And then we can communicate that with one another. We don't necessarily need a third party for that all the time.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Email.
So I was doing some research, and you know, there's an app for that. There is a co-parenting app, fellas.
It is.
Blew my mind. I was on there like, wow.
Yeah. And it's a section for
Holy
everything.
smokes. Yes.
It's a section
You
for
don't have to
everything.
reach out. No contact. There is a recording document. Everything is listed.
Right.
Schedule. I was like, this is amazing. Amazing. Where was this 20 years ago?
Why didn't we think of this, man? We'd have been rich by now, man.
Yeah.
We'd have
Yeah,
been rich
man.
by
I
now,
said,
bro.
oh. So yeah,
Okay.
they're useful tools out there.
You know what? That's a good segue into the next thing. I mean, we could probably go down a rabbit hole of what's in this app, of course, but the next thing is we want to talk about some strategies, man, for those difficulties, for those roadblocks, for those things that trip us up in communication and you know, in our processes. What are some strategies as far as getting around those roadblocks? Can we talk about that?
Absolutely, man. First and foremost, like I just kind of mentioned with Earl, continue to strengthen the communication with your son or your daughter. Strengthen that communication to where it doesn't always need a third party in order to function. That's important. Sometimes in a situation, man, once you and your child can have an understanding and know what's going on, your child's gonna know what dad's gonna do and what dad's not gonna do, especially when they get to a certain age. They know exactly what it is they need to do and what they got going on, man. So strategically, and just as a father, man, you want to have the utmost, the best communication with your child as possible, man, and start giving them the tools to understand, you know, things may not always be the best between your mom and I, and not to kind of throw fuel on the fire, but to get them to a place where they understand that and they know how important it is to speak with you and to kind of be in a place where if I need something, Dad, if I want to talk about something, if I want to express myself some type of way, I can express that to you and communicate that with you just the same as I can do that with Mom. So, you know, that's what I would say. One of the top strategies that works for me.
Earl?
Yeah, you definitely have to find ways. The first thing is to never give up. There's a way out of every situation. You got to think things through. Don't be led by your emotions. A lot of times you'll get into this tit for tat type situations. You have to be the voice of reason. You have to be that person. And like what Steve said earlier, you have to kind of stand on business. I like to think twice and react once. So it may take me a while to get to that situation, but once we get there, that's it. That's where we are. And, we're going to stand on business. We got to see this thing through. It may not be the best solution, but we have to stand on it.
Yeah. I always tell fathers, man, especially young fathers, don't waffle. Don't ride the fence. Don't go back and forth. take the time, like Earl just said, to kind of realize what it is that you need to decide, so that you have the confidence to stand on whatever it is that you're standing on, whatever decision that you decide to make. Sometimes that takes time. Sometimes we need to dwell on things in order to make the right decision, but sometimes we have to pray on things to make the right decision. So don't be afraid to take your time when making a decision, especially a big one, and definitely be able to have the confidence to stand on whatever that decision is after you make the decision. And hand in hand, boundaries, creating boundaries for yourself is also a great strategy, man. Because without those boundaries, sometimes you will kind of allow this and allow that because you feel like you are avoiding a fight in the future, or you are avoiding some kind of a situation to where it could hurt the kids or things of that nature. And I'm telling you, those things snowball. If you don't create proper, healthy boundaries, you'll let the little things go by over and over and over and over again, and they will snowball. Put yourself in a position where, no, I'm not doing that. I know I said I'm not doing that. I'm not dealing with that. Look, this is where we are. It doesn't take you raising your voice. It doesn't take you throwing slander back and forth and cussing and going. It doesn't take all that. Put yourself in this position where you have healthy boundaries and stand on those boundaries, man, and you'll be better for it.
Chew your food, then swallow it.
Yeah.
Build proper fences.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Herm, I got a question for you.
Oh, do tell. What can I add to this? I don't know too much of anything, but please
No,
shoot.
no,
Just
no.
know it
But
all,
this is
bro.
just a parenting, just a parenting situation. Steve and I don't agree, or we agree to disagree on this situation.
okay.
Let's say,
Okay.
dad has to work. Single house, single home. He's
Mm,
fronting all the bills.
mm.
He's presented with an opportunity to get some overtime. It's his weekend. Does he take the opportunity to overtime, or does he own up to his responsibilities to be with his children?
For me, and this is for Herman. Herman speaking for Herman.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Listen, overtime. I just feel like very rarely that money make a real difference. I mean, maybe you guys could fix this for me, but overtime as a manual labor overtime is just kind of like, it just doesn't feel like it really does anything. So, I feel like, the our priority there, man, is probably those kids for me. Because I've rarely had overtime make you know how the amount of overtime you got to do to have it make a
To
real
make it, yeah.
okay. It's like I've had checks where when I started a couple of years ago at my job, 12-hour days every day. It's overtime that makes a difference. Okay, but just 5 or 6, 8, 10 hours here is just kind of like hey, you can
It's
catch
a
up on that
drop in the
water
bucket.
bill.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm saying like whoop de
it
doo.
ain't gonna
Right? Right.
it ain't gonna change nothing majorly.
It really ain't. I mean, so for me, overtime at that level, that's my takeaway. Now, whose side am I on? I'm curious.
Well, I was on the side of, to me, of course, we're always talking about work-life balance, man, because one of those
Yes.
important positions as a father that you have to make sure that you have a healthy one.
Mm.
But for a long time, when I first started my job, I was thrown on second shift. I missed a lot of different things, man, and overtime wasn't always optionable. It wasn't always an option. It was pretty much I had to get it done or I had to do it.
Mm.
But at that time, in the beginning of my journey as a father, the grind it had to have been done. Now, did I miss some
Mm-hmm.
things? Absolutely. I
Hell
missed a
yeah.
lot of different things. But being on the child support system that we have and having to deal with that, put things in perspective of a way, look, man, something's got to give. You can't, it was no like, all right, listen, my child support is paid. No, that's not, that wasn't the situation. It was everything else had to be paid. Everything else had to be taken care of. And it was
Mm-hmm.
rough getting off, getting off ground zero back then.
Mm.
Like we do our best to tell these young fathers, man, like, man, choose wisely what you do, who you choose to be with, who you choose to deal with. Having a child at such a young age that you put yourself at an automatic deficit to where sometimes working overtime or working period isn't always an option because you're in a place where you want to take care of your kids. You want your kids to come to a place to be safe and have a safe home and put a roof over their heads. And the
Mm-hmm.
grind, as we all know, it don't stop. It just don't stop. When I was younger, man, my dad was gone a large majority of the time, but it wasn't always because he wanted to. It's because he had to, and he had to handle his business and take care of home. So that was just my theory on it, my thought process. Those things changed. Like now I have more of an option. Now I have all the options. I can work or not work. If it's something important, I'm not working. But when I was younger, I didn't always have that option. How do you, same question, man, same question applies, man. How do you deal with when it comes to your wife and yours work schedule? Like, is it difficult to juggle as far as dealing with the kids and what the kids need and what you're trying to give? Like, how do you guys plan that? Like, not specifics, of course, but how does that work out, man? Is it one of the more difficult things to pull off?
Well, as presently constituted, I have more of the wiggle room with my job. So it's everything's not always going to be equal on all sides. Okay, is one thing, and this between in a marriage and a long-term relationship, it's like, hey, sometimes I'm going to eat all the punches, sometimes she's going to eat all the punches.
Right.
So it's kind of like, you just gotta be mindful that when you're in more of a position to act than the other person, or if they have something going on, it's all about the communication and just it's a puzzle and it's a riddle, and you just gotta try to be flexible, or try to maintain some level of flexibility. It's kind of my motto. She of course has the bigger paycheck, so she's allotted a little more than me, and rightfully so, because hey, you get addicted to that lifestyle. So that's the way I approach it, is like I get off in the early afternoon, and so when the kids are available, when they're awake in the afternoon, I'm kind of usually the point man. So so I a lot of that stuff kind of falls to me.
Would you think, or would you find that you and your wife have similar philosophies as far as how to go about this parenting thing? And if you didn't at any point in time, do you feel like it has to be a similar situation in order for it to work, or can your opposites kind of come together and make something that works?
The only thing that has to be is the understanding between A and B. Because philosophically, she and I are in some different places.
Okay.
I mean, some stuff that we probably honestly should have discussed before having kids, but here we are.
Here we are.
But no, it's philosophically, no, she and I aren't always lockstep, but those but it's all about relationships and compromising. It's all about making sure that the understanding is the thing that that gets adhered to.
Okay.
For me.
Okay. Everything is for the betterment of the kids at the end of the day.
Yes, I mean, keeping the priority, keep making sure that this is not about you, not about me. This is about the collective,
Right.
Well,
and I know that answer is kind of boring, but that's all I got.
No, I dig that answer.
That's your answer. That's your truth. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Boy.
I got something for Dub, man.
Okay,
Tell me, man, do co-parenting rules apply to being a grandfather? What you know and what you already have learned about being a father may kind of conflict with what your daughter may be teaching or knows about being a mother. Does that conflict at times, or do you stand back and kind of be like, hey, like, you do your thing? Do those same co-parenting rules apply as a granddad?
It's interesting to be a granddad because a lot of the things that you think your kids aren't paying attention to, they start paying attention to, and they start mimicking those things. Nicole and I were talking to our oldest, and she was like, her son's dad keeps telling them, hey, we're going here, we're going there. And then, things happen. Like his car broke down one time and something else happened, someone was sick. She's like, so that's why y'all didn't tell us a lot of the times where we were going. Like, yes, exactly. Because when they see, like that heartbreak is killing you.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. But these are real life situations that come about, and kids don't understand that. All they know is I was supposed to do this, and now we can't do it for whatever reason. Don't matter. So it's always interesting to see those things. One of the things that I've learned in this grandfather, role is you got to let them do it their way. And even just as your kids, like my children are always reminding me, Dad, I'm not you. I'm not going to do it your way. And when they get old enough, that you're like, okay,
All
I
right.
understand that.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially my son, he's doing some things that I'm like, I wouldn't do that. But then again, I couldn't do that because I had him at his age.
right.
So his mindset is totally different.
Yeah,
So it is different, but it is rewarding when you see the fruit of your labor come back, you know.
mm, mm.
But you are allowing for head bumping. So a nice getting the bump on the head,
Oh,
not on the head though.
absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. We will
Please
allow
go ahead.
that leash is very, very long. I'm like, yeah, let me watch this and eat my popcorn and
This is gonna be good. Let me see how
right.
this turned out.
But it's always fun to see them, learn on the fly. You're like, yes, now you get it. Now you get it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Is it fun to see them hit their head as well? You
No,
told them
not at
otherwise.
all.
Man, dude, I foresee so much head bumping right now, and I'm just like, baby, if you just listen to me, and it's like, nope. I'm like, okay, well,
Hey, you could preach it
Capable.
all day, every day until they reach out and say, "Oh, the stove is hot." That's when they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah,
yeah,
now I hear what Dad was talking about."
yeah. Now I get it. Now I get it, man. Um, if I can,
Is
Herman,
that?
I
Forgive me.
like to kind of invoke another strategy that I have that
Okay.
really helps or that has helped in my experiences as far as being able to properly communicate and co-parent. Um, Constantly always thinking about your child while dealing with the issue with the problem. It's easy to forget about uh, exactly what it is you're fighting about when you are just hoping to find out whatever the best avenue to take for your child. Because ultimately, you want them to be safe, you want them to be okay, you want everything to be cool, and you want things to flow. But a lot of the times, man, I had to kind of go back and just thinking about my children while going through a stressful situation or a hurtful situation. And we don't talk a lot about how hurtful things can be when you're back and forth and going back and forth and your kids are involved. Because
Mm,
not only are they kind of getting swept up in all the anarchy and all the issues, um, but your feelings can get hurt, man. It's a lot of stuff going on in the midst
mm,
of that is very hurtful, and sometimes to this day I think about, and it's kind of hard to forgive. So when you are dealing with that type of stuff, man, if you can put your child at the forefront of that situation, it really helps. Like, I did the small things, man, small insignificant things to help me, like changing your child's picture to the co-parents phone call. So when the phone call comes, that phone call sometimes can cause issues. And you get your heart start beating, you be ready, you got your fist up, but seeing your baby on there,
okay.
let me answer that phone. I'm not saying that
Sets
works
the
for
tone.
everybody, man, but it's a small thing
Yeah.
that helps sometimes, you know?
Yes.
Mhm.
It's called a fade in. It's it's not so jarring. It's not abrupt. It's
Yeah,
like, okay, here we go. Let me set my feet and
Right.
okay. I get that.
yeah,
I that's true. That's a good takeaway, man. That's a good way to file it down, man. To kind of take away the rough edge, man. Yeah,
yeah.
I can dig it.
It's not always the other party. It's a lot of the times it's you. The enemy is
Mm.
you. So you bring in that just as much to the party as someone is given to the party. So
Right. But
you have to kind of hold yourself accountable. We have to hold ourselves accountable as fathers to understand that
mm,
it's not a situation to where you're the victim. You
no,
it's a unilateral responsibility, man. It's not just bilateral. It's going
mm,
it's going both ways, not just one way.
no doubt. All right, with everything that we've discussed, man, as we come to wrap everything up, we've talked about communication and we've talked about co-parenting. What what's the underlying, the overarching theme of this? What's the one thing you want to get through to the people before we say our goodbyes?
Um,
If I had one thing to say, I would say we need to overly communicate. Um, Not just with the co-parent, but everybody in that child's village. If they're being dropped off at somebody's house, you need to communicate with those people's parents, with that
Yeah,
child's parents.
yeah,
It is
we touched
just
on it. Yeah,
overly communicating at all bases, no matter what even with the coaches, whatever the child is doing, you need to overly communicate. Make sure that the expectation is met across the board. That's my biggest takeaway.
So
my biggest thing is, man, what it is that we are doing when co-parenting and doing our best to communicate is bigger than yourself. You are creating little people into big people that are going out to the world. They are looking for mates. They're looking to build families, and they're looking to extend your lineage. So what you want to do and what you want to teach them is at its utmost importance. Is a healthy way to live and a healthy way to be. We don't want to continue to pass on a lot of this trauma that we already have in our families. Let's do our best to help that to dissipate and pass on healthy situations, healthy ways of going forward, and healthy ways of being a parent and a grown up in the world that we live in today.
Can we talk about how people can find us on social media?
Man, absolutely, man. Again, holler at us on Facebook, holler at us on Instagram, TikTok.
Talk about it Tuesday.
Yeah, Dub got to talk about it. Tuesdays popping off. We are trying to engage the masses, people, fathers, man. Holler back at us, man. Let us know, mothers. Let us know what's going on. We're going to be asking very pertinent questions going on with parenting and with fatherhood. Please engage with us. Let us know what's going on. Let us know what you think. Answer the questions. Let's start a conversation. Let's get another subject. Let's start another podcast, man. It's all for the good, man. Let's communicate. Let's talk.
Yeah. So, also, we got a mailing list.
Where can they find those podcasts?
Oh, the podcasts are on Apple Podcasts. He didn't say that, did he? Yes, absolutely. On Apple Podcasts. It's going to be on Spotify and will now also be on YouTube. We in these YouTube streets, fellas. We in these YouTube streets. Every time we post up, every time we have an event, that's usually one of the first questions that come out of somebody's mouth. You guys on YouTube? We are on YouTube. We are on YouTube. We here.
They get to see this pretty face from now on, man. So y'all are all messing it all lucky.
Up. Messing it all up, man. You don't get some subscribers around here, bro. Come on. But
screw this.
Yeah, man. But holler at us, man. We are very involved in what we're doing. We're trying to get out here in the community. We're doing things. If you want to join a partner with us, kind of reach out to us, FirmFatherhood@gmail.com. Give us a holler. Reach out. Let us know what's going on, man. We would love to communicate with other people. We love any talking engagements or anything of that nature. Reach out to Firm Fatherhood, any social media outlet, our email address. And again, like I said, we are on YouTube coming to a channel near you.
We have a mailing list that is available. We have a form on all of our social media platforms that you could sign up for the mailing list. And that's a big thing. That's right, Earl. Do I have it all right?
Yes, please opt in. Yes, we got a mailing list available on all of our social media sites. Check in with us, and you'll stay informed with all events from Fatherhood.
Yeah. Please holler at us. And you might need us to come talk to your young men, young women, your group. We have a fathers group. We have a meeting every Tuesday. First Wednesday of every month. We have a group for fathers, man. So, we got a lot of stuff going on. Reach out to us. Let us know what's going on. Let us know how we can help, how we can add, and we really do appreciate it.
Of course. That sounds like a wrap to me, fellas. Listen, man, always a pleasure. It's going to be super duper exciting to do season 2 with you guys. I got goosebumps from what's gonna be to come. So we look very much forward to what's coming on.
Yes, sir. Exciting times.
Yes, sir.
Until next time.
So, with that, yes, I am Herman Trask.
Earl Wallace.
This is Stephen Worthy. Welcome to YouTube. And man, we out.
This has been Firm Fatherhood. Next time, people.
Peace.